At some point, most people notice something that doesn't quite add up. The most ethical person in the room isn't usually the one running it. The hardest worker rarely gets the biggest reward. The most honest politician almost never wins. And the colleague who takes credit for everything somehow keeps getting promoted. Most people see this and feel one of two things: anger or resignation. But there's a third option, and it's the one nobody talks about. Understanding, not accepting that the world is broken, not becoming cynical, but actually understanding with clarity and without illusion how power moves, why certain people capture it, and what that means for how you choose to live. That's what this video is about. Not outrage, not comfort, just the clearest picture I can give you of a game that's been running your entire life, whether you knew the rules or not. In the 1970s, a Canadian psychologist named Robert Hare spent years inside federal prisons trying to understand what made certain individuals fundamentally different from others. What he found became one of the most cited and most unsettling frameworks in modern psychology. He called it the psychopathy checklist, a set of traits that, in extreme form, describe the most dangerous criminals he studied. Traits like superficial charm, pathological lying, lack of remorse, and the complete absence of empathy. But then something strange happened when researchers started applying similar frameworks outside of prisons. Psychologist Belinda Board studied senior British executives and found they scored higher on traits like charm without substance, manipulativeness, and lack of empathy than actual criminal psychiatric patients. The traits we imprison people for at one end of the spectrum are the traits we promote people for at the other. This connects to what psychologists call the Dark Triad. 3 personality traits that together describe a very specific kind of person. Narcissism, the deep, unshakable belief that you are exceptional, that the rules that apply to others don't quite apply to you. Machiavellianism, the willingness to treat people as instruments, to say what needs to be said, build whatever relationships are useful, and feel no conflict about any of it. And psychopathy, low empathy, high impulsivity, and an almost complete absence of the guilt that regulates most human behavior. Decades of research show these traits are disproportionately represented at the top of competitive hierarchies. Not because these people are more intelligent, not because they work harder, but because in environments built around competition, visibility, and short-term results, these traits function like a set of cheat codes. And most good people are playing the game without even knowing cheat codes exist. Here's what I've observed, watching people navigate careers, institutions, and social structures over many years. There's a set of unwritten rules that nobody teaches you, and the people who operate by Dark Triad traits seem to know them instinctively. The first rule: visibility beats competence. In 2019, researchers studying team dynamics across multiple organizations found that perceived value had more to do with how often someone communicated about their work than with the quality of the work itself. Think about that. Not what you do, but how loudly you narrate what you do. Bad people understand this without being taught. They speak in meetings even when they have nothing to say. They position themselves near success and away from failure. They make sure the right people are always watching. The second rule: asking is a superpower most people never use. Economist Linda Babcock at Carnegie Mellon found that people who negotiate their starting salary earn up to $1 million more over their career than those who don't. $1 million. From a conversation most good people are too uncomfortable to have. People with Dark Triad traits ask constantly for more money, more responsibility, more recognition, without guilt, without the fear of seeming arrogant. They simply ask, and the world surprisingly often says yes. The third rule: relationships are investments, not obligations. Where most people approach networking with a vague sense of social anxiety, Manipulative personalities approach every interaction with strategic clarity. Who is this person? What can they offer? How do I become useful to them before I need something back? It's cold, but it works. And understanding that it works is the first step to deciding how or whether you want to adapt it. And the fourth rule, the one that might be hardest to hear. Emotional weight is a tax, and they don't pay it. When most people fail, they carry it. They replay it. They let it quietly erode their confidence for weeks or months. People with psychopathic traits simply don't have that mechanism. They externalize, they move on, they act again, not because they're stronger, but because the part of the brain that generates guilt and rumination operates differently in them. That's not something to envy, but it is something to understand and something we can learn from without importing the toxicity that comes with it. Now here's where it gets genuinely interesting, because the problem isn't only the people, it's the architecture that selects for them. Consider what happened on the night of September 26, 1960. Richard Nixon and John F. Kennedy faced each other in the first televised presidential debate in American history. By almost every objective measure, Nixon was more prepared. He had more experience, more policy depth, more time in government. But Nixon was recovering from a knee injury. He looked pale and tired under the studio lights. He refused makeup. He sweated visibly. Kennedy was tanned, composed, and spoke directly to the camera. People who listened to the debate on radio thought Nixon won. People who watched it on television thought Kennedy won by a significant margin. Same words, same arguments. Completely different outcome based entirely on how each man appeared. This is the halo effect in action, a cognitive bias first identified by psychologist Edward Thorndike, describing our tendency to assume that people who look confident and composed must also be competent and trustworthy. Bad people exploit this constantly and deliberately. They invest enormous energy not in being better, but in appearing better. And it works, because most of our social institutions, corporations, political systems, media, social networks are optimized to reward the appearance of competence over its reality. The system isn't broken, exactly. It's just measuring the wrong things. And it's been doing it for a very long time. The good person builds the thing. The bad person builds the story about the thing. In a world that runs on attention, the story almost always gets there first. But here is what most conversations about this topic miss entirely. In the 1990s, a man named Al Dunlap was one of the most celebrated executives in America. He built a reputation for walking into struggling companies, eliminating thousands of jobs without hesitation, and delivering the kind of short-term profits that made shareholders wealthy and business magazines worship him. He wrote a best-selling book called Mean Business. He gave keynote speeches to packed auditoriums. He was held up as the model of unsentimental, effective leadership. Then, investigators started looking more closely at the numbers. The profits had been fabricated. The companies he'd saved were hollowed out. In 2001, he was charged with fraud and banned from ever serving as an officer or director of a public company again. He died in 2019. His obituaries were not kind. Almost no one from his professional life attended the funeral. This is not just a story about justice catching up. It's a story about what this kind of life actually costs. Research on long-term well-being consistently shows that people scoring high on Dark Triad traits report lower life satisfaction, deeper anxiety, and significantly weaker personal relationships as they age. Because here is what manipulation ultimately does to you. It makes genuine trust impossible. Every relationship becomes a transaction. Every friendship is a potential threat. You spend your life managing perceptions because you know, better than anyone, what people are capable of when they stop finding you useful. The narcissist who built the empire looks around at 60 and realizes the room is full of people who are there for what he represents, not for who he is. Their wins are louder, their losses are quieter, and far lonelier. There is an invisible tax that comes with this way of living, and unlike most taxes, it compounds. So what do you do with all of this? I want to be honest about something. The answer isn't simple. And anyone who gives you a clean, 5-step solution to navigating a world where manipulative people have structural advantages is either naive or selling something. But here's what I've come to believe. After observing this for long enough, the choice is never really between being good and being bad. It's between being conscious and being naive. Naive goodness is what most of us start with. We follow the rules, work hard, assume others are doing the same, and feel blindsided when they aren't. It's not a moral failure, it's just a lack of information. Conscious goodness is different. It sees the game clearly. It understands how power moves, how perception works, how manipulation operates, and then it makes a deliberate choice about how to engage, with eyes open, values intact, and no illusions about what it's navigating. In practice, that means a few things. It means making your work visible, not out of ego, but out of accuracy. The world can only reward what it can see. It means asking for what you deserve, not aggressively, but clearly. Silence is not virtue. It's just silence. It means being selective with trust, watching patterns over time rather than taking people at their word in the first conversation. And most importantly, it means choosing your environment with the same care you give to your values. Because some systems are so structurally broken that integrity will always be punished inside them. Recognizing that early and leaving is not weakness, it's wisdom. You don't need to become bad to survive alongside bad people. You need to become clear. So, do bad people always win? In certain rooms, over certain time frames, by certain measures? Yes, they have real advantages, and pretending otherwise helps nobody. But I keep coming back to something Robert Hare, the psychologist who spent more time studying the darkest corners of human behavior than almost anyone alive, said when asked what surprised him most about his decades of research. He said it wasn't how many people with psychopathic traits existed in positions of power. It was how unhappy most of them were. Winning is not a moment, it's a direction. And when you zoom out past the quarterly results, the follower counts, the titles, the surface signals, a different picture emerges. The people living with the most genuine satisfaction, the deepest relationships, and the quietest confidence are rarely the ones who got there by treating others as obstacles. The question was never really, why do bad people always win? The question, the one worth sitting with, is this: by whose definition are they winning? Because once you're clear on that, truly clear, not just intellectually, but in the way you actually make decisions day to day, you stop competing in their game entirely, not because you gave up, because you finally understood what you were actually playing for. If this changed something in how you see things, even slightly, I'd genuinely like to know. Leave a comment. And if you want to keep pulling on this thread, the next video goes somewhere most people aren't comfortable going. See you there.